This kind of content just feels a little forced and try hard. Not to mention the quotes in the question are one of two things, fake or dyslexic, neither of which is worth time and ridicule over.
Welcome to episode 476 of the Forced and Try Hard Show. I can't believe I've been managing to get away with pulling the wool over your eyes for 10 years. I can't say for certain, but you may be I don't know, did I miss something here? I'm shocked, I say, shocked. Morning, how is it going? I just want to make a note here to Alan John Peach where he says, the quotes in question are one of two things, a fake or a dyslexic. No, they're not fake. That's how musicians speak. You think it's bad trying to read what they say out loud? Try making a record with them. All right, welcome back to another episode of SMG Viewers Comments. As I said, this is episode number 476. And just gonna get this done a little bit ahead of time. I got a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow morning. I'm actually driving up to Toronto. I'm gonna go pick up a certain Jet City amp that a lot of you guys have recommended I check out. So that's gonna be coming up on the show. Very cool indeed. And Wednesday, I'm gonna be shooting some stuff with Steve Terryberry. So look for him coming up on the show in a few weeks as well. Steve's a really good friend of the show, really great guy. And it's going to be an awful lot of fun. All right, so this week's pop culture recommendations, I would recommend one of my all-time favorite documentaries, A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica, Part 1. It's them going into the studio and working on the Black Album. And if you pay close attention, you can learn an awful lot about making records. Not just in terms of getting performances out of the musicians, but things like taping off loose strings, all kinds of little tidbits thrown in there. There's just a wealth of information if you're willing to pay attention. And it really shows you the amount of work that went into just making, for all intents and purposes, was a glorious record. For reading material, I'd recommend the book. I don't know if I've already recommended this, but I can't say enough good things about it. Would be It's So Easy by Duff McKagan, and it's his life experience playing with Guns N' Roses and dealing with addiction and how he coped with that and how he got away from it and then fell back in and then got away from it. It's a very fascinating story. If you're looking for a cool book to check out, you can find it on Audible. I believe Duff actually narrates it. It's really fucking cool stuff. All right, let's get into your comments and questions right now.
Hi Glenn, I'm having a major problem in my apartment. A few months ago I noticed how much noise was coming from my power in my apartment. The house is present in my DAW when recording DI guitars, but it's especially bad when I run my guitar or bass amps. Even with nothing running into the input, there's a constant noise that cannot be solved with a ground loop eliminator or Furman M8LX power conditioner. Please help, I'm losing my mind trying to solve the issue.
Ooh, okay. I want to start this one off with something I've dealt with as well, because hopefully I can need some help. You may, I can't say for certain, but you may be fucked. I remember hanging out with Trey Xavier before he moved into his present place. He had an apartment on the east side of Glendale, and yeah, he had the exact same issue with noise running into his guitar signal, and there was nothing he could do about it until he moved. And I thought, wow, that must be horrible. And then, in 2019, I moved down to Harmony Studios in Hollywood there, and we had the exact same fucking problem. And yeah, I went absolutely batshit crazy trying to figure it out. It didn't matter what we did. There was always noise present in the signal. Basically, you could sit in one place in the control room, turn your guitar a certain way, and that would kind of get rid of it, sort of, but not really. The one suggestion I can make is maybe the Morley Humno. That's a new type of hum eliminator. That might help, but I can't guarantee. Keep your receipt in case it doesn't fix it. But definitely recommend checking one of those out. And if that doesn't happen, you might need to run new power because you probably have a ground issue. You might have a ground loop issue as well. Now, my dad is an electrician, and one thing he suggested I do when I built this studio was to make sure I'd run each outlet in the control room as a home run back to the panel. And that way you wouldn't run into ground loops, and that saved me an awful lot of grief. The other thing is I put these orange sockets in. I forget what the hell they're called, but they basically you run it's a 4-wire connection, not a 3-wire connection, and it gives an isolated ground right to the distribution box. And hospitals use the exact same. I think they're called Hubble outlets, actually. That's helped out a lot too. So you might have to do some rewiring. You might have to call an electrician because I don't think there's going to be an easy fix to this. You probably need something. You probably need a home run to your distribution box, which means you need a direct cable going from there into wherever the hell you're trying to record, because you're probably sharing a circuit with something that's causing a lot of electrical interference, like a fridge or something like that. You might want to take a look at that and see what comes up with. The other thing you can do, I don't know if you're in an apartment, one thing I would suggest, unplug everything from your apartment except your amp and see what happens. And then slowly but surely start plugging stuff back in. It might just be something that's operating there that you might be able to switch out, but then again, you might be fucked. There's no real easy answer to this one. When in doubt, call an electrician, because if it's really driving you that crazy, it's better to get some professional help because it'll be well worth paying for.
I have been surprised by the absurd amount of people who don't know the Tone X1 works. I know people who think it's a multi-effects pedal and nothing more. They don't like the presets and think the pedal sucks. At first I was bothered trying to explain the pedal is just a trigger for amplifier catchers. My God, we guitarists really are idiots.
Hey, I've been saying that for 10 years. I was glad somebody's finally starting to pay attention.
Glenn, we need to talk about using a Boss Katana as a power amp. I use one with my quad Cortex and it sounds great for gigging.
Okay. That sounds cool. My question to you is, if you already got a Boss Katana, why did you get the quad Cortex? Is the Katana not good enough? I'm glad they're working together well. And if you already had it on hand, yeah, that might work. Maybe got, the 100-watt one or something like that? Yeah, hey, you know what? If that works, that's absolutely fantastic. But I'm just kind of curious why you went with the quad Cortex. Maybe you can answer that one. I don't know. Did I miss something here? Leave a comment below. Let me know.
I did a test a few months ago. I did a full song recording with a cheap Chinese humbucker and one with a DiMarzio Super Distortion. No one on the local guitar forum could guess which one was the DP100 and which one was the Chinese.
I'm shocked, I say! Shocked! Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, the whole pickup thing really tends to ruffle people's feathers quite a bit. I've had some reports from some friends of mine who I respect a great deal, who are saying they can hear the differences. Maybe some people can't, maybe some are obvious. I don't know. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as the tests I've done on this show, the only thing people can really tell is the difference between a humbucker and a single coil, in a blind test anyway. But I'm not surprised by your results there whatsoever. That being said, I am going to do a few more tests coming up on the show. I think it's going to be really cool. I might just grab a couple of those cheap Chinese humbuckers and put them up against some much more expensive pickups, because I want to test not only for if there's a sound difference, but I want to hear if there's a feedback rejection difference as well. I think that is the one place where good pickups really can make a difference, is if you've got something just squealing away in your guitar and you can't do anything about it. Upgrading your pickups can definitely make a difference that way. All right, real quick, today I'm proud to show you the ultimate bass amp sim, Element Bass. You've been hearing it on my show in mix after mix for well over a year now, and so many of you have asked, what's up with that bass tone? How do I get it? And the answer is one simple plugin, Element Bass. We've designed this from the ground up to get you an awesome tone right out of the box. There's no more wondering why the bass doesn't work in a mix. Element Bass has everything you need to get a mix-ready, crushing bottom end with zero guesswork. Discover ultimate flexibility with up to 3 parallel tone stacks, each with their own separate EQ, plus our one-of-a-kind stereo enhancer, compression, and an impulse response loader. You can craft your tone in ways that were never possible before. From pounding metal to blues to country and even jazz, every great mix needs an element. Get your copy today at spectredigital.com. Links in the description below. Now let's get back to the show. So it's the morning of Friday the 27th, and I was originally going to go with a different butthurt of the week and release this morning, but I watched a documentary on the current American political situation last night, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be throwing gas onto a fire here, so I'm just going to change the subject altogether, because I want to, believe it or not, actually try and do some good with this show and maybe help some people along the way as well. So I'm going to have a very much different butthurt of the week, and I'm just going to put the video out on Saturday, because why the fuck not? Anyway, here we go.
Man, I loved how you debunked stupid myths in the past, recommending people not to fall for expensive gear traps. Now you pull this. You're jumping so fast to the conclusion saying that the answer to all your not sounding different problems is something super expensive piece of gear. Of course, it can't be spending time trying out a different combination of parameters of EQ and saturation, or just EQ plus saturation plugins, fab filter included, and mixing better. But no! Buy a super expensive saturation hardware unit that you might need maintenance on, that you will immediately doubt as soon as there's a noise issue. That will make what your gear sounds different. Spend $2K on that. Doesn't sound harsh like a traditional EQ. Come on, Glenn. Since when do EQ sound harsh on their own?
Okay, lots to unpack on that one. That was based on a response on my Carnaby EQ review, otherwise known as Why You Filthy Software Pirates Can't Steal This. Okay, first and foremost, I understand we're on alternative facts part of the human experience right now, but it's not $2,000 plus. It's $1,899. That will save you $200. And just put things into perspective, $200 can still get you a few things these days, even with inflation with what it is. I'm like, $200 will get you a flight on Spirit Airlines. $200 might even buy you lunch. Five Guys, and $200 will definitely get you an hour with your mom. And here's the thing, I always notice people really get upset about things I never actually said. And I quote here, "You're jumping so fast to the conclusion that the answer to all your not sounding different problems is some super expensive piece of gear." Now, I never actually said that it was going to solve all your problems. I just said it would sound different. I don't know where you drew this conclusion from. It certainly wasn't based on anything that came out of my mouth. Please, let's engage with reality here and talk about the things that were actually said in the video instead of jumping to conclusions about things that weren't actually said. You'll find you'll get along in life a whole lot better if you do that sort of thing. Now, let's be honest here. A big problem these days is maybe a lot of you guys are using the same plugins, and I'm going to take a wild guess that maybe not all of those were actually paid for. If you're feeling guilty right now, yes, I mean you. And that's fine. And here's the point. I love cheap gear. I love debunking myths and showing people that they can get great results for not a lot of money. I've done that numerous times. In fact, I just picked this up in Toronto yesterday, and this is going to be coming up on the show real soon. A bunch of you guys have recommended this, so I went out and found one. And Jet City amp. This is going to be great. And you can betcha I'm going to be putting that up against my Soldano 100 watt head and seeing if we can get the two dialed in to sound similar. I think that's going to be a very fun video. I love doing that sort of thing. And the underlying point in those videos is to show that you don't need to spend a lot of money to get great results. And if you're just learning and you're starting out, don't think that the gear is holding you back. However, not all my videos are for beginners. Some are for more advanced users and people who might be doing things professionally. That's why I buy shit like this, because I need to get my job done quicker. The Carnaby EQ I thought had a really nice advantage in tone, especially on sources like kick and snare as compared to the Neve EQs. The Neve EQs are amazing, but the Carnaby just put things into a different dimension. And if you actually listen to the samples played in the video on something other than a cell phone, you might hear the difference. So Studio Keynote, if that's how you pronounce that, all I can suggest is please pay attention to what's actually being said right in front of you before you comment. You probably just might enjoy the show a whole lot more. I am not responsible for your incorrect conclusions. And on the flip side of that comment, here's something from the Hitman 69, somebody who actually gets what I'm trying to do.
Another great video, Glenn. Thanks for saving me thousands in cash over the years.
Dude, you're welcome. Thanks so much for writing in and letting me know that I am getting through to people who are willing to pay attention.
The mixes sounded pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing, Glenn.
Oh, you're referencing the Tonex versus Quad Cortex video I did there a couple weeks. So thank you very much for that. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I'm getting more and more compliments like that these days. That's great. Might have something to do with the giant piece of gear back here. Probably. It's often been said that Rupert Neve had a way of making engineers sound like geniuses, and I think there might be some truth there.
Glenn, I am 62 years old, and back in the 80s, my guitar teacher gave me one of the best lessons ever. And that was, don't be a slave to a name tag, and I've lived by that motto ever since. Videos like yours not only enforce that lesson, but prove it. Keep up the great work.
Oh, hey, Dan, thank you so much for writing, and I really do appreciate that. And I've often felt like that, too, yeah. The name tag doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a quality instrument. Again, I keep coming back to this thing. This one's getting quite a bit of use in the studio as of late. This is just a absolutely fantastic guitar. I think this was $269. Probably the best $269 guitar I've ever come across. It's too bad they don't make it anymore, because this thing was just simply great. And yes, you can have it when you pry it from my cold, dead hands. But yeah, price to performance is definitely way off balance on this guitar. I've never come across something so cheap yet so simply amazing. But my whole point is there are bargains to be found. All you got to do is be willing to put in the work and go find them.
Honest question, something I've always thought about. Do you think atmosphere without the presence of bodies and air conditioning have an effect on the overall quality of the sound studio and or concert hall? Reasoning, molecular air propagation when sound checking when there aren't bodies to deflect sound and temp in the air. Am I overthinking this? Also, hey Glenn.
Well, considering that the speed of sound is affected by the density of air, I would think that yes, it makes a difference. I don't know how much of a difference, though. And it's funny you mentioned, a crowded hall versus an empty one. Yeah, there probably is something to do there with the density of the air, but not to mention that the bodies in the said concert hall are definitely going to absorb some reflections as well. I've often given a great deal of consideration to the idea that if temperature and humidity is affecting my guitar sound when I mic up a cab as well. I've often wondered this. I have no evidence to support any of this. I've often wondered, though, if I'm in the summertime when the humidity levels are higher in here, if that's a different sound than I'm getting in the middle of winter when there's no humidity and it's fucking cold in here. I don't know. I think that's actually going to be an episode I do this winter where I let it cool off my drum room, dry out, and then I bring in a humidifier, crank up the heat, and see what happens when we change temperature and humidity. We'll do some frequency response graphs and see what happens. That's going to be an interesting one because honestly, I've looked around around. A lot of people say, yeah, well, it should affect it, but nobody's actually done any work to show either way and by how much. So fascinating stuff, to say the least. Stay tuned for that one. I think that's going to be a very interesting video indeed.
Hey Glenn, love the show. I was wondering where you draw the line between taking the rocket of rock and roll with stuff like autotune and making everything sound robotically perfect in post and slapping mistakes that generally should be worked on.
You know, there's definitely a Goldilocks zone. You can definitely go too far either way. Nothing's absolutely right in its methodology. I mean, like, here's the thing. If you're timelining everything, auto-tuning everything, yeah, you're going too far. You know, a couple of tweaks here and there, that's fine. But personally, I wouldn't even do that. I'd just rather, you know, hit recording and make the artist do it till we got something satisfactory. But yeah, if the band sounds like shit, it's like the best remedy to that is not editing, and it's send them home, tell them to come back in 2 weeks once they've learned their parts.
This was well done, and an even better way to ridicule the toners in the hands crowd would be to do this while ABYA pedal switch between two different amps with no attempts to even touch a knob on either amp, while acting super confused at why the sound is so drastically different when the same hands are playing. Or just do it on a clean channel then with an overdrive pedal. The tone should never change with the same player, right? Lol.
Yeah, I did a short there kind of trolling the hell out of the guitar community. It's called The Sounds in the Hands. And I like play a chord and oh wait, hold on, it's not plugged in. They absolutely loved that one.
God! Please take a look at the Sonicake Matrix Box 2. Gear snobs will hate it, but the number of amps, cabs, and availability to load IRs, as well as the effects combinations have made my life so much simpler. Best used into an FR speaker.
Hey, Chris Walsh, thanks for the suggestion. You know, this came up again on the Tonex versus Quad Cortex video, and I saw that come up quite a bit in the comments, was the Sonicake Matrix Box 2. I had a lot of suggestions for other ones too, so this is, again, something I'm probably going to reference in the future. I might do a few more shootouts, see what I can get my hands on in terms of modeling gear, and just see what I can do. I will definitely put that on my list. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Again, I always like getting suggestions from you guys. I love hearing from you guys, so if you got something on your mind, leave a comment. If I think it's cool, I'll try and put it on the show. Anyway, keep them coming. Oh yeah, right. Just going to break in here for a second. Remind you guys, Oldies But Baddies is still happening. I want to give one of you my Rev Generator Mark III 120 watt beautiful custom guitar amp. It's absolutely phenomenal. I want to give it to somebody who's doing something awesome. So hey, links for the Oldies But Baddies competition are in the description below. We're doing metal covers of TV show theme songs. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. I hope to start reviewing your submissions next month. So if you haven't started yet, get to it, and I hope to see you in there.
Hi Glenn, I'd like to change the speakers in my 4x12 and is looking at either a Mojitone BV60N or Celestion Neo Creamback. I've used the Neo Creamback before and I liked it a lot. However, I saw Mojitone do this BV60N as well, and I wonder how they compare in a metal context. Regards, Brett.
I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the Neo Creambacks. They're kind of gonna be my recommendation. The Mojitones are cool too. I've worked with them a little bit. I haven't done too much, much less I haven't shot them out yet directly back to back. But from what I remember, you know, I remember we did that a couple years ago. We bought like the world's shittiest Behringer cabinet and dropped in those Neo Creambacks, and that cabinet just roared to life. So if you're in the market, I can definitely give the Neo Creams the Spectre Sound seal of approval, that's for sure. The jury's still out on the BV60Ns. I mean, like, they're cool, but again, more testing is required.
Pretty much the same amount I paid to Universal Audio so far. Happy for you. What a beauty. Congrats.
Hey, Christian, thank you so much. I'm guessing that's in terms of Universal Audio hardware and then the software. Is Universal like pay it and you own it, or are they on a rental plan now? I don't honestly know. And just how much are Universal plugins anyway? And I know their hardware ain't cheap, that's for sure. But yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from, and thanks so much for that. I appreciate it.
Spectre Sound Studios. I had a debate with a guy the other night. He stated spending a mint on tubes made more of a difference than speaker replacements.
Yeah, color me shocked.
I'm a guitar player and I've learned a lot from your show. You've managed to deprogram the industry propaganda I've fallen for. Thanks from Boston.
Hey, Earthstrong, so happy to hear that. So glad, my constant ranting about speakers is starting to rub off and people are starting to ask questions like, why are we spending this kind of money on vacuum tubes? That kind of shit. Yeah, it's really amazing how many people still will deny this very basic fact. That speakers make the biggest difference in their guitar sound as opposed to everything else. It is, after all, the final filter that your guitar sound goes through. Interestingly enough, one of my lovely SMG Discord members is mailing me an electro voice speaker. He's also sending me some vintage tubes. Ooh boy, yeah, there's some RCAs and Mullards in there, so we're going to be putting those to the test. I'm sure that's going to be rather eye-opening, especially when we start reamping and we can hear the big, sonic differences between them. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be just fucking gigantic. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I could just see the butt hurt right now. We'll see. Anyway, I'll try and keep an open mind and see if there's any major sonic differences, but don't hold your breath.
You're 10. Glenn is still saying that speakers make more of a difference than amp heads with proof, and guitarists still don't believe him.
I never once said musicians were intelligent. All right, that's it for this episode. Once again, grab yourself a copy of Element Bass if you haven't already, because it will kick your bass tone into the next level, and that's the foundation for a great next. And if you haven't already, check out the Oldies But Baddies competition. I want to see you submit me something fucking awesome, and I want to give one of you guys my custom-made Rev Generator 120 Mark II. Links for everything are in the description below. That's it for today. Once again, thanks for coming back week after week after week. I'll see you guys back again next Friday for the Forced and Try Hard show. We're going to creep it up on episode 500. I probably should do some kind of retrospective for that one. Should be an awful lot of fun. And if you haven't already, please do me the favor. Hit the subscribe button. I very much appreciate it. All right, that's it for this episode. Now fuck off! Neither are worth... Neither... All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, everybody, welcome. Fucked if I know. Simple. Yeah, well, I don't know.